He wore you out yesterday, huh? All right. Welcome Monday night. We are live once again. It is time for Bring It. It is the NBA playoffs, and it is just me and Andrew holding it down. Andrew, thank you for holding it down for me last week. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm always there for you. You know that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. You know, this will be a couple of basketball freaks just talking hoops all night, and this will be a lot of fun.
I think we should rename the show, especially since it is going to be a basketball show. Let's just rename it One-on-One tonight.
Yeah, exactly. One-on-one. or white man can't jump, one or the other, right?
one of those. I used to be able to jump. Now I'm old.
Oh, God. I remember those days. I was so close to dunking a basketball, and definitely I just couldn't do it. That was crazy. So, you know.
I have 3 if you can count them. Like I had, like, I remember in my driveway we had a 10-foot hoop, but the rim was just bent like maybe like 2 inches. I was able to throw it down on that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple where like I dunked it, but the ball slipped out. It was debatable. Was it a dunk? Did it just go in by luck? I had a couple of those, but
we had.
I'm happy to get that.
In my house growing up in Jersey, we had like one of those, old wooden garages. We had a wooden backboard against the garage. And I remember we used to play all the time when we were kids. I remember one time, one of my buddies was like, hey, let's see if we can dunk. So we're all trying to dunk. None of us can do it. So someone went across the street and got his trampoline. So then we started dunking. Needless to say, within 5 minutes, the rim was ripped off. And that was the end of the backboard.
So my grandparents, it's funny you say that. My grandparents on Long Island had also a wooden backboard in their backyard. They put it in for my mom and my uncle to play on. So we're talking late 60s this hoop was installed, early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I would say around 2000, 2001, around that range, I started to be able to jump, and I went up for the rim. Rim came down right on my head.
Oh, jeez.
That wood was so warped and old. It's true. I have 2 rims. I don't know how. I didn't shatter glass, but I got the wood rim, and then there was I pulled a rim out of one of those Huffy hoops. Those,
okay.
Everyone has in their driveways. So I was doing this after-school basketball program for 6th graders at the elementary school. And they would always ask me to go, like, how high I could jump. Went up, grabbed the rim, just cracked the backboard.
Oh, wow.
There was no hoop in the school for like 6 months.
That is insane. That is insane. Yeah, it's amazing what we tried to do, to mimic our basketball heroes and try to take off from the foul line, and we get maybe halfway and that was it.
I'm not even taking any credit. It's not like sheer strength brought those hoops down. I'm blaming the quality of the backboard.
Yes, the poor craftsmanship, if you will.
The 40-year-old wooden backboard and the $100 plastic backboard gives me 2 broken rim stories.
Exactly. Yeah, when your sneakers are worth more than the basketball hoop, you got a problem, right?
That's true. That is true.
That is true. Cool. All right, let's talk some playoff basketball, man. It was a good weekend. Good games all around. A couple of almost just about buzzer beaters. Since we're both Knicks fans, let's start with the Knicks game last night, man. I was I was watching it. I got to it about the second quarter and watched all the way through. And I mean, the Knicks outplayed themselves, and that's why they lost last night. If you ask me,
I agree.
it was. I mean, they had opportunities where they should have waited, and they rushed shots. There was a couple of times where D Rose would drive to the hole and wouldn't go strong. He would pass it out, and then they'd end up missing. And Randall was terrible last night. And I don't know.
23.
Yeah,
he just disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was crazy, And then from what I understood, they brought in. I mean, and I wasn't watching the play. I was just watching. We were at a friend's house and I was watching. I didn't see who they brought. I understand they brought in somebody to play defense on the last play, and what's his name just ran right by him and hit that shot last night.
Trae Young. I mean, he came alive in the fourth quarter. We could just start on the points that you touched with the Knicks. I'm just going to fast forward to the last 6 minutes or so of that game. It looked like no one wanted to step up to be the leader of that team. Obviously, Derrick Rose is the seasoned veteran on that team just by sheer age. He does not through playoff success, but just he's the age veteran. But everyone's youthful lack of playoff experience showed. It showed in Randall. It showed in Barrett, who's only in his second season. It just showed top to bottom. And then when we got down to the nitty-gritty of these last few minutes, no one wanted to take that shot. And with the shot clock winding down on at least 3 or 4 occasions, they made 2 or 3 too many passes. And it ended up in just, they did get bailed out a couple times. Alec Burks was nailing threes. Randall even made us an impossible 3, but they were bailed out.
But if Burks bailing you out, that's a problem. I mean,
no one was attacking the hoop.
Right.
Even when, I'm watching the game when Taj Gibson got that offensive it was either an offensive rebound or he just somehow ended up with the ball in the post, right, 2 feet under the hoop. He passed it out.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I forget if it was off of an offensive rebound, but I believe it was. I believe it was an offensive rebound. Why he didn't put the ball right back up, he got scared. Even when the shot clock went down, the ball was in D Rose's hand, and he's up in midair, and he passes the ball out instead of trying to draw the foul. That game, they lost that game 6 times last night.
Exactly. But you know what? I think the fact that the game was so close, was back and forth, so close. And I know Atlanta was down 7, then the Knicks were down 3, so it was up and down, back and forth. I think there is a roadmap and a plan that Tibbs could look at and be like, okay, this is where we got beat. Trae Young beat us last night. I mean, that's the bottom line. Trae Young beat them last night. So what do they do? Do they double down on Trae Young and be like, okay, he's not going to beat us, let someone else beat us? Or, I mean, how do you look at that? Or do you just let Trae score and block everybody else? I mean, what's the plan for game 2 at this point?
Well, if you remember leading up to the playoffs, I said all along, the one team in the East that I hope the Knicks don't get is the Hawks.
Yeah, we talked about that. I remember.
We knew that they weren't going to end up getting Philly, Milwaukee, or the Nets, just the way the seeding was going to fall. Right. And I was just like, let them get the Heat, let them get Boston, let them get Washington. Just don't let them get the Hawks, because exactly. I don't think they can beat Trae Young. I really don't. I listen. You can guard them however you want. That team is very deep, though, and Nate McMillan has been playing great team basketball. But to me, the biggest aside, if you want to double down on Trae Young, you're forgetting all about Clint Capella, who they have no one to stop down low.
No, true. But there were times where they were boxing out, and Capella wasn't able to get on the inside, so they were definitely blocking him out. And there was 2 shots. I know there was 1 shot that Bogdanovich just hit. It's like, what? It just came out of nowhere. It's like, how did you hit that shot? It was crazy. So yeah. I don't know. But I mean, but here's the thing. The thing about last night is also, I think the myth of Madison Square Garden came alive last night, because you and I have talked for years about how guys get to the Garden and all of a sudden they step up and it's his first playoff game, like Trae Young, first playoff game, and he goes nuts at the Garden. It's something about the Garden. It's always has been.
Did you hear what he said in his post-game comments?
Yes, I did.
but also about just being back in the Mecca.
Yeah.
You know, and that was
it was loud. It was
the most
loud.
alive I've seen Madison Square Garden since 1999.
That was crazy.
Even in a couple of playoff games that they played in 2012 and 2015,
it wasn't that. No.
It wasn't the same. I think when those teams made the playoffs, they knew that they weren't going to get past LeBron and the Heat, regardless. Right. I think real Knicks fans believe that they have a legitimate chance at going far, not just going to get roadblocked by LeBron.
Right.
And there was a buzz in the Garden that has not existed in 20 years.
Oh, it was crazy. We turned it on. I heard the volume. They kept on showing Spike last night, and Tracy Morgan and all the other guys, and it was like the way it used to be back in the 90s. That's what it felt like to me.
And they're all, it wasn't even at full capacity, although it was at 15,000, which is the most of any NBA arena.
Right.
But that stadium can hold 20, so.
Well, I think everyone had to be vaccinated, had to show proof of vaccination and the whole deal. I think that's how they did it last night.
I'm not sure. So I have a friend who went to the game, and I asked him, are they enforcing masks? And he said, I'm in a vaccinated section. So I don't know if it means that there were sections where if you did not have your vaccination card, you had to sit in a separate section with your mask on. I didn't go into all these details. He actually told me to stop texting him. He's too into the game.
Right. So was he sitting up top or was he down low?
So I asked him because he's been a season ticket holder for 20 seasons, and he gave his tickets up before last season, before COVID hit. He was just like, he had moved to Jersey, and he was just like, all the money and all this losing, I can't deal with it anymore.
Right.
So he gave up his seat. So I asked him, are you back in your seats? And he's like, I'm one section up. So his seats were in section 113. So if you know Madison Square Garden, post construction, it's really just now they have the floor bowl, the lower bowl.
Right.
Back in the day, it was the lower, and it went all the way up to the 400s.
Right.
So his tickets were 113. I think he said he was one section up, so that would put him in 213. So it's like the lower upper bowl.
Yeah. Those are still good seats, and I can only imagine what he paid for those seats.
He when I lived there, he would take me to some incredible games. I got to see Stephen Curry before, like, coming out party. Like, this was in Curry's second year, and I got to see his, at the time, career high. He put up 54 points. And everyone, I just remember, was like, who is this guy? Like, I'll never forget, there was this one, he made a 28-foot fadeaway three at the shot clock buzzer in double team traffic. And everyone was just like, who is this guy? He finished with 54 points.
Was that his rookie year or?
Second year.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, when he had that run, and Steph had the run in the tournament before he got drafted, and then ever since then, he's just been, it's the legend of Steph Curry.
Well,
it's crazy.
It's interesting. It's like when you think about Stephen Curry's rookie year, it was still Monte Ellis's team.
Yeah, exactly.
And Baron Davis's team. And then they let Monte go, and then Curry was kind of known, but definitely not on his superstar level. And I would say he had his coming up party that season, but it was the year after that he became a household name. Right,
definitely. Well, we'll see what happens. I think the next game is Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. That definitely should be a good game either way. Let's move on to the Heat and the Bucks. Milwaukee won in overtime, basically at the buzzer. Chris Middleton actually hit a big shot in the playoffs, believe it or not, But Milwaukee, I mean, for them to have 3 20-point scores against Miami and only win by 2 in overtime, I think it says a lot about both teams. It says that Miami can definitely hold this Bucks team down, and it says that if Milwaukee doesn't get that kind of scoring, there's no way they're going to win the series.
Well, let's not forget what happened last season.
Yes, exactly.
Miami knocked them out in the Eastern Conference Finals. Player on the floor belongs to Milwaukee.
Right.
Miami is by far a weaker team, I will say, than last season. There are a lot of there. Okay, first of all, you have Crowder, who was the heart and soul of that playoff run.
Yeah,
He's
Crowder's
Look
not
how
on
Phoenix
that
has
team.
turned around. We'll get to Phoenix later.
Right.
They trade Olynyk, and there was one other player in the trade. We were trying to figure this out last night.
Right.
I think there was one other player in the trade, so they're down those two players for Olynyk. Not Olynyk, I'm sorry, for Oladipo.
Right. And Oladipo's out.
And Oladipo's out. Yeah. So, in theory, they're down 4 players, even though it's really they traded 3, but now they don't have Oladipo even to show for any of those. Crowder just walked. They traded for Oladipo. So they have nothing out of Oladipo. So they're a weaker team. Jimmy Butler, continues to be Jimmy Butler, where you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. Shooting 4 for 22. We said Julius Randle 6 for 23 was bad. 4 for 22 out of your superstar player, your best player.
Right.
You're not going to get past the first round at that.
But now that's an interesting stat because, all right, the Heat star player goes 4 for 22. Randall goes 6 for 23. Both teams lose by 2 points. So that says they're bound to turn around in game 2. So they're bound. I mean, according to statistics and probability, both players should have better games in game 2 and tie that series up at 1.
So I read something funny the other day. It was a story about like the 90s Clippers, and they were talking about how some no-name player who would not even get minutes on any other team still averaged in the 20s, even though the team would win 10 games a season. Right. And his answer was, well, someone had to score. We still had 80, 90 points a game. Someone had to put the ball in the hoop. So let's say Randall bounces back. Let's say Butler bounces back.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see 30 points out of Randall and Alec Burks come through with 27 points again and all those threes. That's not going to happen. Burks stepped up when Randall was lacking, but they got beat by a team that played better in the last 5 minutes. They were outplayed, and that's why they lost.
Well, I think this might be an all moot point because Milwaukee's up 46-20 at the end of the first quarter. Milwaukee is now shooting 72%. Miami's shooting 34%, and they're down 25 at the end of the first. Yeah. Okay. Well, there goes my theory. My theory's out the door.
They're playing with a little bit of a vengeance too. Milwaukee got embarrassed last year.
Yeah.
They should have never have lost last year.
Right.
Even going back, you said 3 guys and 20, at 20 plus points. Brook Lopez at 18. They were 2 points away from 4 players with 20 plus. That's really spreading the ball around. And Giannis.
2005, Dr. Pepper sent 3 flavors.
Is that me or you? No, I'm sorry. Is that me? Is that you?
I think we had sponsor now. It sounded like Dr. Pepper was a new sponsor.
Oh, we got Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I'm sorry.
We should do that. Like, how are they going to find out?
Yeah, exactly.
And now we have Hazel.
Okay. Well, anyway, so Miami is basically losing right now. So those theories might be out the window. So we'll see what happens with that.
I don't think Milwaukee. I don't think Miami's coming out of this series alive beyond. If this series even goes 6, I would be surprised.
Right.
I haven't thought that Miami was that great of a team all season long. I thought that the East, beyond the key 3, was a very weak conference.
Right.
And I think the Heat kind of lucked their way into the playoff a little bit. They had a stronger start at the beginning of the season, but I just don't see them coming out of this alive at all.
Right.
And if they do, they're getting the Nets in the second round, so it doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
It's kind of like I was looking at the Knicks, and does it even matter? They're getting Philadelphia the next round.
Well, and we can move on to that series now. It's a great segue. If you look at the first game of the Wizards and Sixers series, let me pause that. The Wizards and the Sixers series, basically Washington cannot match up with Philadelphia, but the bottom line, for Philadelphia to win 125 to 118 over a much inferior team. I mean, to me, that game one, Philadelphia needed to make a bigger statement than they did. To only win by 18, 20, to win by 7, win by 7. I mean, they should have demolished them. So that to me is it's a point. I mean, Philadelphia should win the series in 4, maybe 5. They might lose 1 in Washington. Who knows? Because they can't match up. I mean, Embiid only played 30 minutes yesterday. So
I called it.
Yeah, exactly.
but also look who was the leading scorer of that game. It was Tobias Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he just come out like Alec Burks? As your leading scorer, you weren't expecting Tobias Harris to come out and lead the team in points.
Right. Simmons has a double with 15 rebounds and 15 assists. I mean, come on, that's crazy. Only scores 6 points. That's nuts.
I've never seen a player like Ben Simmons. Who it's not even because he's unselfish. I'm sorry, it's not even because he is unselfish. He just really lacks an offensive game. He can't shoot at all. But he gets the boards and he gets assists. It's crazy how he puts up numbers everywhere but points.
He's like almost playing an old school point guard where those old school point guards didn't shoot. Their job was to pass the ball, maybe get a rebound, and that's kind of the way he's playing the game right now.
Magic was not a shooter.
No.
In fact, if you look at Magic Johnson's form, he has one of the most awkward forms in the history of the league.
Right.
He had it kind of like he would put the ball and then you would just push up and shoot one-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. He had a very weird release. And
there's another. Yeah, exactly. There's another glaring stat from that game yesterday. Embiid was 12 of 13 from the foul line. To go to the line 13 times, to hit 12 of them. And Simmons is 0 for 6. So not only can he shoot from the outside, he can't even shoot a free throw. So that could bite them in one game, but over a course of a series, I don't see anybody being able to. And as you said before, when Tobias Harris is your leading scorer, I think that series, as I said, 4, maybe 5 games.
This should be a sweep. I mean, you like you said. We're going to resort back to the next seed. If you can contain Trae Young, is the answer to contain Trae Young or just let him score? You let Bradley Beal do his thing. There's no one else on that team that's going to. Obviously, Russell Westbrook is still going to put up, Russell Westbrook triple-double numbers, but they're going to come with 10 turnovers as well. He's not going to lead the rest of this roster. I mean, I'm looking at this roster. I mean, I know who the names are, but I don't know any of these players.
Yeah.
In reality, like you take away, okay, Bradley Beal's going to give you his 30 points. That's it.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I mean, you're going to rely on Westbrook in the playoffs? No, you can't do that.
Not at this point.
No.
I mean, listen, what year was the Heat Thunder?
Oh, that was
2011?
2011, something like that. Yeah.
2011. It was the second year of the Heatles.
Right.
That's 10 years ago already.
Exactly.
He's already gone from the Rockets, the Wizards. He's closer to exiting the league than his best days. And he's still putting up the numbers because the league has changed. It's not the same league. To make a quick baseball reference, what did we hit? The 6th no-hitter, 7th no-hitter last week?
Yeah, 7.
7? The triple-double is not what it was 20 years ago.
No, definitely not.
1 away from the record.
Yeah, exactly. But and that could happen this week, Nate. You never know. And
who knows from who? I mean, at this point, everyone's throwing them.
It could be anybody. All right, let's move on to the last series in the East, Brooklyn and Boston. What is it? Is that you or me? That's me. I'm sorry. Yeah, it keeps unmuting. Let's see. Eric Holmes said Celtics in 7. Yeah, I mean, it's a ballsy pick, that's for sure. Again, Brooklyn only won by 11, but they put it on when they had to in the second half. They didn't have a strong first half, but in the second half, between Durant and Irving and Harden, I think they scored 82 points the other night. I think it was 82 they scored, 82 out of 104, which basically means if one of them has a bad night, do they still need a third person, or can they win with 2? I mean, that's
they're just so deep. I mean, you look at Blake Griffin only had a point, but he still
Right.
played 20 minutes.
Right,
There's
exactly.
I mean, you haven't even mentioned one of my favorite players on the team is Joe Harris. That guy is one of the best shooters, if not the best. It's hard to say the best shooter because people are going to say, "Well, that's Stephen Curry." Joe Harris is one of the best shooters in the NBA right now from three.
I mean, he only had 10, but still, I mean, they don't. He's like a decoy at this point,
He at 100%. He can be a decoy on either way, either to scare people into passing away from him or to him. He's deadly behind the three. And like you said, Durant has an off night. It'll be Kyrie or Harden's, team.
Right.
This series is not going 7.
No.
Boston's also playing short. So good for them to keep it as close as they did. But if anyone is even thinking that the Nets are gonna get knocked out on the first round, keep dreaming.
No. But the thing about Boston is, I mean, Jason Tatum is actually, I mean, he's becoming a star. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's had with the points he's put up, and I mean, Jason Tatum is a legitimate star in this league now, if you ask me, no doubt.
He's a star,
But I'm saying, but a legitimate, not all-star, but legitimate. He should be a starting all-star, a real star focus. He should be one of the faces of the league, if you ask me. The way he's playing and at the level he's playing at this point, I think he needs to be put up there in that upper echelon of NBA players now, just because of the way he's playing. He's putting up the numbers. He's he's doing what he can.
He's playing very well. 100%.
That's for sure.
I don't disagree with you at that.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so basically, so even though each series is one game in and Miami's already losing in the first quarter, my predictions before the playoffs started, and I'm gonna stick with it, was I had the Knicks in 7, I had about Brooklyn in 5, I had Philadelphia in 5, and I had picked the upset of Miami in 7. So I'll probably be wrong with that, but that's what I had picked. So I'm gonna stay true to my picks. So what were your first round picks for these 4 Eastern Conference?
Philadelphia should be a sweep. This Knicks Hawks series.
It's going 7. It's going 7. Come on.
It's going 7. Here's the thing: if the Knicks win tomorrow night, it's going 7. If they go down 2-0, if they get to 5, I'll be surprised. But if they win tomorrow night and come back, and it's going 7.
Yeah.
At least after the way last night, I hope it goes 7. Even if they lose in 7, if we get 7 games like last night, that will be the best we can have.
Would it be the first time the Knicks lost a game 7 at home? So.
I was watching with my father-in-law last night, and he's like, "Why aren't you angry right now?" And I said to him, I was like, 1, I'm used to this over the last 20 years. 2, it was such a good fourth quarter that I had so much excitement every time they made a big shot. And I was so I can't believe the Hawks just did that again.
Right.
Like, I haven't felt that way in 20 years. Like, it was truly enjoyable to watch that game as just a basketball fan, let alone as a Knicks fan, watch first meaningful Knicks game in forever.
Right,
exactly. 7, and we get 7 good games, I hope. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
I don't see them being Trae Young. I said that before the playoffs began. I don't see it. If Randall just had a bad game, which I hope, and isn't all of a sudden getting shy in the playoffs, then they're a whole different team. But he can't have a repeat of game 1.
That's for sure. All right, so you got this. So the next series will probably go 7. You got Philadelphia sweeping. What about Boston and Brooklyn?
Boston, Brooklyn, that's going to go Brooklyn in 6, I would say. I think Boston can get 1 or 2.
And you think Milwaukee will probably win the series, right?
Milwaukee 4 or 5. Maybe Miami. They're going to lose tonight, obviously, with the Heat.
Right.
They're not coming back from this one. Maybe they get 1 when they come back to Miami. But it'll be over by 5 by the time it goes back to.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the Western Conference. I'm going to save the Lakers for last. So let's talk about the late night game last night. Memphis went in and upset Utah last night in game 1. But Mitchell did not play. He had a sprained ankle, but he was pissed that he did not get to play last night. He thinks he could have played. The training staff said otherwise. They think he should. They sat him out. And obviously it showed that, Mitchell was the heart and soul of this Utah team. So now, giving Memphis this advantage, I mean, now they've got home. Utah's lost their home court advantage. So, is this series take on a whole new light, or is this just a 1-game thing, and then Mitchell will be back, and then it all turns around again?
This is what I've thought about the Jazz the whole season. it's amazing what they did at the beginning of the season with that winning streak. Okay, but they don't go on that crazy winning streak at the beginning of the season that separates them from the rest of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're above mediocre of the top 8 at best. I don't think that they're the best team in the playoffs right now in the Western Conference. I don't think Rudy Gobert is that superstar.
Yeah, you haven't been high on Rudy all year.
No, I haven't, and I'm not. I don't think he's that superstar center that people are making him out to be. He's a great middleman. He's getting you your 12, 13 points, 12, 13 boards a game, but I don't believe that he's going to be able. I mean, he didn't carry them last night.
Right.
And to say, it's interesting, you bring up how Mitchell felt he could have played and the training staff wouldn't allow it. I wonder how much has changed in the eyes of management and ownership and training staff ever since what happened with Durant a few years ago in Golden State, when they felt that that he rushed back and his Warrior career was pretty much over from there. But Jordan would have never missed that game.
Right.
Even if the training staff told him you can't play, he would have said, "You want a job tomorrow?"
Exactly. That's what he would have said. Yeah. Of course he would have said,
I'll have you fired tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to say, I had no interest in this Memphis-Utah series, and now I'm interested because of this one game, because of Memphis taking advantage of a situation. All right, it's a series, especially if Utah wins the next game. It's definitely a series. I mean, they have the other Bogdanovich on their team. He was their leading scorer last night with 29. Conley had 22. And Gobert had a double-double, fell 11 points, 15 rebounds, 10 of those defensive rebounds. But, obviously, when it came down to it, they only shot 25% from three, whereas Memphis shot 35% from three. And there's a difference right there. I mean, a 10% difference is huge from the three-point line.
You want to know something else that I find interesting? If there's one team in the NBA that knows how to play Mike Conley, it's the Grizzlies.
It's Memphis. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even if Mitchell does play tomorrow night.
Right. I mean, he had 11 assists, which isn't bad, but still. He was 6 for 18 from the field, so yeah.
What percent health is Mitchell going to be playing at?
Right.
He's not going to be at 100. No matter what, even if he plays, he's not going to be at 100%. Memphis is riding the momentum. Utah has their backs up against the wall. And the Grizzlies have nothing to lose at this point. If they go back to Memphis tied 1-1, they have the home court advantage. Right. They came out as the number 8 seed, and I would say they won at least for these first 2 games, even if it's split, they came out ahead.
Right. Well, the next game in that series is Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. So basically, Mitchell was off yesterday, Monday too. So he's at 40. He's going to have 4 solid days to rest that ankle. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of level he's at when he plays.
The league is really spreading these playoffs out.
Oh, they do every year. It's about the television money. You know that.
Oh,
it's about
the day. It was I kept saying tomorrow night. I'm thinking that they played last night. They're going to play right. I'm used to the every other night schedule.
No, it's usually maybe 2 games a night. There's 3 tomorrow. I mean, yeah, it's just that's the way it works. It's all about TV.
It used to be if you played on Sunday, you played again on Tuesday, and then you had 2 days off to travel. You had to travel.
Exactly.
And then you played again. Like they wanted to get through it. Now what are we pushing, July?
Yeah, if every series goes to full length, they say the season will be over like right after July 4th or something like that. But it's all about the TV money, man. You know that TNT and ESPN spends a lot of money on this contract. And it's not. And Nate's right. The NHL's got 5 games today because the NHL is doing it smartly, which is, of course, Nate's absolutely right about that. All right, let's move on to the Dallas and Clippers series. Dallas went in, won game 1. And honestly, to me, not an upset, not unexpected. I have Dallas winning this series in 5, maybe 6. I don't think the Clippers are going to match up. Pandemic P is back again. It was trending all weekend on Twitter. I think the Clippers trying to duck the Lakers is going to end up to really bite them at this point.
I don't see the Clippers beating Dallas. I think Dallas is just a better team.
Yeah,
I really do. I think Kawhi and Paul George. I think Paul George is one of the most overrated players in
Oh, no doubt. But
Hands down. I mean, what has this guy done since 2015?
well, if you look at, do you remember Paul George was on the Olympic team and he got hurt in that one
Right.
game, like basically, and then where Krzyzewski just said, "All right, we're done, game's over."
Yeah.
He really hasn't been the same player at that level since then, if you think about it.
That's one of the worst injuries in sports history.
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible.
See
horrible.
I mean, you literally just saw his leg go like
that.
Yeah.
Well,
but no, he didn't cut. He never be.
And that's a good topic, which especially in the dog days of summer, that's a good topic. Worst injuries in sports. Let's remember that.
that was right. I mean, even he, people forget he went to Oklahoma.
Right.
People forgot before he was a Clipper, he was on the Thunder, and he didn't. That was a disappointment. They thought that he was going to go and play with Russell Westbrook, and didn't matter that Kevin Durant left. Paul George did nothing in Oklahoma. And so he goes to LA. They try to, put together their own. They never really got to the big three, but big two.
Right.
And it's just they're not that great of a team. And Dallas,
exactly.
Luka is just on another level.
Oh, Luka's on another level, and having Porzingis healthy in that lineup definitely helps. And Hardaway Jr. balled out last night. He was 8 for 13 from the field, 21 points. And it's that. Watch this Dallas team. What?
Maybe Phil Jackson knew what he was doing when he drafted them.
You know what? It pains me to say it, but I think he might have. I really think he might have. Because, I mean, when Porzingis is out, but, it's the system, too. That system, it's a European system, the way they're playing it. And I think that's why, Luka is – I mean, Luka would excel in any system, but especially with two European players, they're really built – they're playing that Euro basketball, and it's working.
Plus, when the Knicks had they were expecting him to be the next Patrick Ewing, which was never going to happen.
No.
This is Luka's team.
Right.
And Porzingis is just the perfect sidekick to him. I mean, you have a guy who's 7'3" playing next to him. He's perfect sidekick on both ends of the court.
Right. I mean, Luka's playing the point. He's still getting, he's getting 10 rebounds, 11 assists last night, 31 points. He's 6'7". I mean, what one or two is going to guard him? Nobody's one or two can guard him. I mean, come on, and he's fast off the dribble. So you've got a 6'7" guy, quick off the dribble. He's got an amazing outside shot. I don't know if there's such thing as a 5-tool player in basketball, but you know what I mean. He's a 5-tool player. Yeah, really? So and he's got this outlet. So that series. If Dallas should win that series in 5, and I really think so. That's for sure.
Did you see the dunk of the playoffs so far by Kawhi?
No, I didn't see the dunk. I'll have to see that.
Oh my
dunk.
goodness! So he was on the fast break, okay, and Maxi Kleber went up to try to stop the dunk. He knocked Kleber to the floor midair, threw down so hard, and he had Paul George and Cousins behind him. All three of them stared down Kleber on the floor. It was amazing.
Trying to find it. I want to see this. I want to see this dunk now. I'm trying to find a video of it.
You have to see it.
All right, I'll have to find it. I'll have to find it later. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. For Kawhi to do that. And it's funny if you look at Kawhi. Like if you just look at him, you wouldn't think he's got the kind of game he does. He doesn't look intimidating. He's not sleek looking. He just kind of. He's like the kind of guy you'd see like at Rucker Park, just shoot this balling out there. But yet he's on the NBA court, and he's
a very quiet player. I mean, he drew those similarities to Tim Duncan when they were teammates. That was just their style of play. We're not going to get into the whole thing, but actually, I learned a lot about Kawhi and his whole life story. I don't know if you know his life story, and how he was murdered when he was a teenager, and just. He grew up without his dad. He grew up real humble and an incredible life story.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's crazy. I'll have to look at that. I definitely don't know anything about that. Let's move on to Portland and Denver. Again, another series. Didn't surprise me for a number of reasons. One, because Portland won Game 1 against the Lakers last year and then got swept after that. But also, Denver, even with Jokic, they're shorthanded without Jamal Murray and
Will Barton is out.
Exactly.
Denver is playing shorthanded. I think their season was over when Murray went down. Jokic is MVP of the league, or at least in my opinion, should be. but he's not going to be able to get this team over the hump against Portland. I think Portland, next to Phoenix, is the best team in the West, regardless of the seeding. I think that they're just such Damian Lillard and McCollum. They're just such a good team. I think that they're the team to beat. I think that they're going to beat Denver, and you know what? The way these matchups work out, I don't think the Lakers are winning. I really don't. I would much rather see a Portland Phoenix series than I would a Portland Lakers series.
Right.
I think Portland would run LA right out the building. But
definitely.
I think Portland Phoenix in the second round. That's why I don't like the way the seedings work out, because the second round is always better than the third round.
Well, yeah, I mean, like in the NFL they reseed, in the NHL they reseed, whereas in basketball they just set up the bracket. That's the bracket, and there you go. So I mean, right. NBA, yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, a Portland Phoenix second round series will be if that happens, will be tremendous because
that'll be better than the finals.
Yeah, that Portland team is fun to watch. I mean, when McCullough and I mean Lillard is. I mean, Lillard can hit shots from across the street. You know, I mean, but to when the two of them are on, oh, forget it. Who's going to stay with them? Because if they're both on and having a great night like they did last night, I mean, yeah. The Portland's dangerous. Portland's definitely dangerous, but they're known to trip up in the playoffs, and that's what scares me about them because I love watching them play, but they have a history of tripping up. So you know, I mean, I hope they don't. I hope they can get to the second. They can beat Denver, get to the second round, and hopefully play Phoenix. You know, that'll be a great second round.
Listen, Jokic still had 34 points and 16 rebounds. So that's just going to go and show that one guy is not enough.
I don't have that. What did Porter have last night? I don't have the score up in front of me.
Let me pull that up for you. Jokic had 34 and 16. Lillard had 34 as well. 34 and 13 with Lillard.
Who was the second scorer on it was Michael Porter Jr.
Porter was the second scorer with 25.
Oh wow!
They actually had 4 guys in double figures with Aaron Gordon and Monty Morris.
Right, but they just couldn't.
Was great off the bench for them all season.
But they just couldn't. They just couldn't keep up. Obviously.
I mean, you talk about 6 guys. This is what we should be talking about. 6 guys on Portland were in double figures.
Wow! See, there you go.
You know who the third best player on Portland is?
Who?
Carmelo.
And that's scary because if Melo has a night, forget it.
Right. So if your third best player is Carmelo Anthony, who has been phenomenal over the last 2 years, I mean, talk about a comeback. I hope he gets a comeback award. He deserves it. But he had 18 last night.
That's nuts.
He's the third highest scorer. McCollum had 21, and Lillard had 34 and 13.
That's insane.
And then Nurkic had 16 and 12.
Wow.
So they're just too deep. Anthony Simmons 14. Norman Powell had 10. And Norman Powell, you could they stole him away from Toronto.
From Toronto, exactly.
Yeah, he was one of Toronto. He was one of Toronto's best players this year.
Yeah, no, Toronto just basically sold the house. That's crazy. By the way, Milwaukee's up 70-45 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. So I think you can turn that.
What is Butler's stat line right now?
Butler is 2 for 6 with 5 points. Yeah, so I'd say you can turn your sets off. Miami might get swept at this point. Who knows? All right, let's go.
I guess I'm not going in a couple nights.
It's not. I know. All right, let's get on to the Lakers series. Lakers and Suns. Suns made a statement and a half last night, winning 99-90. Devin Booker they played lights out last. They played the way everyone hoped they would play last night. And now the one thing everyone's talking about is the LeBron flop. And I don't care what anyone says, that was a flop. There was all Chris Paul was doing is putting a body on him, and LeBron just took a dive. And I'm so tired of him taking a dive and being such a drama queen. Play the game the way it's supposed to be played. I mean, come on. That's why you can't compare him to Jordan. You can't compare him to any of those guys that played then. I mean, Jordan would have bodied him back up, and he would have went back at Paul, and they would have gone back and forth. Well, LeBron's on the ground crying, "Hey, he pushed me down." No. Yeah, see, Jay, now I can't read what Jay wrote, But I know whatever Jay wrote, it's definitely Jay's a big Phoenix fan, and the fact that we're talking good about Phoenix, I'm sure he's happy to see that. So yeah.
Do you think that we saw better acting on the flop, or we will see better acting in Space Jam?
Well, I don't intend to pay to see Space Jam. I'll wait till it comes out on cable.
You come over. It's on HBO Max. You come over. We'll watch it.
Yeah, if it's on HBO Max, I'll come over and watch it.
I wonder how many flops he's going to get in Space Jam.
Exactly.
It's going to be a rough year for him between the Lakers going out in the first round and Space Jam 2. Just
exactly. See,
that movie could have never been made.
I know. All right, see what Jay said. Exactly. You, the biggest, fastest man on the court almost every game, but yet you're always crying. Exactly, Jay.
You're crying off the court too. I mean, let's not forget how he's crying his way to get this team that he wanted.
Right. Exactly. You know,
let me ask you a question though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Then
No. I'm just looking at last night's stats, and I'm just looking at, you know, the way the game was played, and the fact that it was a 99-90 game. You know, Phoenix shot 46.5%, Lakers shot 43.4%. You know, but the thing that killed the Lakers last night was they shot 61% from the foul line. And to me, it's if you don't play the fundamentals right in this game, you're never going to win. And, you know, the Lakers think they can just run and outscore you. And then Phoenix played great defense and just bodied down. And they're not afraid to get physical. I mean, you saw that one push on LeBron caused that little skirmish on the side. So this series is going to get chippy, if you ask me. I really think it will.
Well, how about this stat line? Anthony Davis leads the Lakers in minutes played and has 13 points in 6 minutes.
Exactly.
He's supposed to be team on paper, but we all know at this point LeBron's supposed to be supporting Anthony Davis.
Right.
Just, you know, due to age and the way this team was built, they are building around Anthony Davis for the long run. And he got, you know, forget all the injuries because he's been injury prone his whole career.
Right.
13-7 on 38 minutes.
Right, exactly.
They're not. I was going to ask you, are the Suns that good, or are the Lakers Lakers and LeBron finally hitting father time and injuries, and it's just going to catch up on this year?
I think it's both. I think the Suns are that good. I think the Suns' youth with Paul's leadership. When you have a leader who knows how to lead and leads by example. LeBron cannot lead by example, if you ask me, because of the way he acts and the way he carries on, the way he cries and complains and this and that. You know, I mean, what he said about the play-in tournament, this is BS, whatever. That's not leading by example. You say to your team, all right, you know what, guys, if we're going to be in this tournament, we got to go in, we got to win the game, and we got to move on. And that's what he should have said. A good leader would have done that. CP3 is leading these young boys. Devin Booker was already an all-star, but what he's done for Devin Booker is tremendous. What he's done for Booker's game is tremendous. Just showing him, all right, I'll lead, you score. I'll play point, you score. This is what you do. This is what I do. So what he's done for Booker's game is tremendous. And everyone was been saying, oh, DeAndre Ayton, he's young, whatever. He completely outplayed AD last night. So everyone's I heard Colin Cowherd said, Ayton's not gonna be able to hang with AD. Are you kidding me? He completely outplayed him. If you get in AD's head, AD is done. He's done if you get in his head.
He had 21 points and 16 rebounds.
Yeah, and he's a young kid. This is our first, second year.
Put up that line if Anthony Davis put up 21 and 16, everyone on ESPN today would be talking about Anthony Davis as the most dominating center in the NBA.
Exactly. No one's talking about DeAndre Ayton, and they should be, because DeAndre Ayton completely balled out and outplayed him last night. No one's talking about that. It's ridiculous.
I will say the one good thing that the Lakers showed is, the depth that they do have, although the lack of, I don't want to say, listen, they have LeBron and Davis, but not one they didn't need to put over 20. They did have 6 guys with double figures. So that goes to show that, they still have the depth on the bench between Caruso and Drummond was a great pickup for them. Trez, but
Yeah, but I mean, Drummond's starting now, so he's not coming off the bench. Montrezl Harrell is very hot and cold, and Kuzma's supposed to be their sixth man. Kuzma didn't do anything last night.
He played 20 minutes and didn't even score.
Yeah, so I mean, the Suns are definitely deeper than them, if you ask me. And the Suns are playing, with heart. They're playing with yes, all right, fine. You want to treat us as the underdog? Fine, treat us as the underdog. You're going to come into our house, and this is what we're going to do to you. I mean, I think this series will probably go 6, maybe 7. I think it'll be long for 2 reasons.
7. It's not going 7.
I hope it doesn't go 7, but if the NBA has something to do with it, conspiracy theory, it'll go 7. But that's another conspiracy theories in sports is a whole other show.
That's another episode. You talk about veteran leadership. You look at Chris Paul. And you talk about the effect that he had on his teammates all season long. And you look at where he fell in box score. He was 6th in scoring. We only had 7 points.
Right.
What he's there to do is pass the ball. He had 8 assists. Okay. It's not like he had 12, 13, 14 assists last night. But his veteran leadership just made everyone else around him that much better.
Exactly.
It's just on the court. It's off the court too, and that's why I credit Jay Crowder so much as well, too, because I think Crowder is the missing component for the Heat. I said that about 40 minutes ago, and he brought that veteran leadership to the Suns, and I think that the Suns are that team where everything is just gelling. They're just gelling. I will say that I'm a little bummed that. I thought Tibbs should have got Coach of the Year, but.
Well, no, that wasn't the NBA award. I mean, that wasn't the NBA awards. That was a different. I mean, that wasn't voted by the writers. That was voted by players and coaches. But yeah, and Jay, yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right, Jay. By far most effect on his team, no doubt. Are you playing a guitar there or something like that? I'm trying to see his picture.
Wait a second. That has the most effect on his team than any other player in NBA history. I wouldn't go that far.
No, he says not history currently. That's what he changed his comment. All right, yeah, currently,
okay,
exactly.
Okay. I would agree currently, as in May 24th, 2021. I would say yes, I agree with you. I don't know if that is true throughout the whole season, but right now, game 1, he has the biggest effect.
No doubt. All right, so basically, we love Portland, we love Dallas to both lower seeds to win, and we I still like Utah, although it's going to go farther, and I love the Suns in this series. Absolutely love the Suns in this series for sure. All right, well, we were talking about the play-in before, so everyone's saying the play-in was a money grab, the play-in wasn't worth it, But if you look at who came out, the 7 and 8 seed that went into the tournament came out in the East. The 7 and the 9 seed came out in the West. So is the playoff? I mean, they're saying is playing tournaments going to be here to stay. So what do you think? What do you think of the tournament in general? I mean, do you think it's worth it?
I don't like it because I'm a history buff, and you're changing the way the game's been played for almost 75 years.
Right.
And why change now? I understand, we had a shortened season, COVID affects everything, the way, lineups and whatnot. And they were trying to give teams, because of, whether they were were shorthanded in the regular season because of COVID, or just the 10 less games, or even trying to give, the Lakers a little bit of a break having 6 weeks, 5 weeks to go from winning the championship to starting the new season.
Right.
It's never going back, in my opinion. I believe that it's such a money grab.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't into it. I know that there was a lot of buzz around the play-in, but I feel like there was more excitement in the play-in. It was kind of like what happened in the NCAA tournament with Gonzaga when they won in the Final Four and they had all that momentum going.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to carry momentum over to do it again the next night? Now, I felt like everyone invested so much time into getting into this play-in that now it's like the first round is it's boring. I mean, it's exciting. There's been exciting games, but it's like there was more on the line with the play-in with the sudden death effect. than
Right,
a
but
seven-game series of the first round.
well, no, true, but I think what the play-in does is obviously it keeps more teams in the playoff hunt towards the end of the year. It makes more games interesting, and I think what it does for the teams that are at 4, 5, 6 who are bunched up, it doesn't have them mail it in to try to, all right, well, we're locked in this seed or this and that. So I think it definitely has an effect as far as keeping more teams into the season because, if you start getting teams who are out of it, they're going to throw games. The integrity of the game's not going to be as good. Yes, the lottery isn't what it used to be because it's not that weighted thing of the worst team gets the most ping pong balls. It's
Right.
the worst 3 teams, that type of thing. So, yeah, it's.
I just would have preferred the format to have been done different. I would have preferred a 1-game sudden death, 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9.
Yeah, I agree. If you're gonna do a tournament, do 7, 10, 8, 9.
And move on.
And
One
move on.
game. Home court. If you get the 7th seed, you got home court. That's your advantage right there.
Right.
I didn't like that the Warriors got to have a second chance because they were the 8th seed, but it didn't work out the other way around. I just didn't like how that worked out.
Right, and it was interesting how with especially in the East, the 7-1 at home, the 9-1 at home. Well, yeah, the 9-1 at home. No, yeah, Boston beat Washington to win the 7, and then Washington got to go home and play. Even though Washington lost, they still got to play at home against Indiana, and then they won convincingly.
And because they get the second chance and then win the second chance game, they get to go to the playoffs.
Right.
When the other team had already won, but they still had to play again.
And on the road. So
and
to me, yeah, if you lose and you get a second chance, you should have to play on the road.
You shouldn't. And you're playing the team that already won, but because of the way the seedings went in the regular season, they had to do it a second time.
Right.
I didn't like that. It should have just been 1 game, 7, 10, 8, 9, and then obviously just 7, 10 would get the 7th seed, 8, 9 would get the 8th seed.
Right.
And that in my opinion is how it should have been, and it would have added for a lot more excitement because it's a 10 beating the 7 in 1 game with sudden death.
Right.
I think that's a lot of excitement right there.
Well, yeah, and there's more pressure on the 7 because if the 10 wins, I mean, you got a 10 seed in the playoffs. I mean, that's well, it definitely
right. And then imagine what it does for that city's excitement as well. Like just all of a sudden the 10 seed who should have been written off gets in, and even though it's 10, I mean, still you're in the playoffs.
Right.
I just thought that would have been more fun.
Exactly. Hey, Nate, why don't you jump in here for a second? I want to hear what did you think about the whole play-in? Our producer Nate the Great. What did you think about the play-in tournament?
I agree with you guys. I think it should have been 7 to 10, 7 to 10, and then 8 and 9. I didn't understand why there was that third. I didn't like how they. I didn't understand why there was that third game.
Money.
It's all about the money.
It's listen, look at now just how teams that make the playoffs are going to have 5 jerseys because they have that playoff version,
right,
that they get to wear for the month of the last 2 or 3 weeks of the earned edition is what they call it.
Yeah.
Why? When I was growing up, we all grown up, every team had 2 jerseys, a home and an away. Now the Knicks are going to have 5 jerseys next season.
Right. Well, were they doing the Christmas alternates when we were in the 90s? I don't remember.
They were in the mid 2000s. They were
when they were
doing. Okay, so they had an alternate. Every team had an alternate, but
yeah.
A third choice is that they would call it back. And when the alternate started to come out, it was called the third choice uniform.
Right. Exactly. Now there's like 7 or 8. I mean, that's crazy.
When LeBron was on the Cavs, they had like 12 uniforms one season. I remember because they were wearing throwbacks, but then they were also combining different throwbacks into one uniform.
Oh, it's insane.
Because they know that they can take that jersey that they're wearing that night, put it in the team store, and it's just gonna sell.
Yeah, it's all about money.
Right. So now the NBA managed to stretch out $1 for extra tickets sold.
Mm-hmm.
Extra revenue through the ads and sponsorships and whatnot, and that's why it'll never go back.
Exactly. No, they won't. They won't. And now
It's
they're
never
talking
gonna
about
go back.
and now they're talking about this mid-season tournament. Did you read about that? They're talking about having a
They've been
mid-season.
talking about that for a couple of years.
Yeah,
I don't see how they're going to manage to do both,
They
and I
can't.
don't see how they're going to have an effect where a midseason tournament's going to have an effect on playoff basketball. Or like if you win the season but you don't make the playoffs, what kind of championship is that?
Right,
And then
exactly.
you're supposed to have this midseason tournament, and then it ends. You win. Okay, what are you the champion of? And then you go back into the regular season.
Right.
What if the worst team wins this mid-season tournament, but they're still the worst team come regular season, don't make the playoffs?
Mm-hmm.
The Philadelphia 76ers end up winning the championship. Who's the real champion of the season?
Right.
So
Exactly.
I like what the NBA does when they do like an NBA summer league. Only because they add in more teams. They add in, teams from like other countries like China, Japan, stuff like that. I like that because it's not during the middle of the season. It's technically a different league, even though there are NBA teams playing in that. But mid-season,
No.
what? How?
But even summer league now, I remember also back in the 90s, you couldn't watch a summer league game on TV. They weren't televised.
No.
They were strictly to analyze the players by the scouts. Now the arena in Vegas, it sells out. You can't get a ticket to the summer league game, and they're on ESPN. They're on NBA TV. They make a whole big deal about who's going to win the summer league championship, which for some reason the Knicks seem to be in the summer league finals every year, but it never translates over to the regular season.
Right, exactly. We got to take some. We got to take something.
That's the money. The summer league has become a money grab.
Right,
and
exactly.
They sell the summer league jerseys after the season. They sell the game worn jerseys of guys you've never heard of or never going to hear of again. Everything is just money now for the league.
It is. Hey, Nate, are you doing sports status at 11?
I was going to do it earlier today, but things came up. Next sports status show is actually on Wednesday.
All right. So what time is that?
Sports Corner is tonight at 11.
All right. Sports Corner, 11 Eastern. Check out Nate on that. Thanks, Nate, for joining that. Obviously, not part of the conversation. Right. Check out Nate at 11 o'clock. All right, Andrew, let's move on to the jersey conversation, man. You gave this idea to me, and you were going to do it last week. It didn't work out, but I love this. I love talking jersey numbers and all that stuff. So we're going to do every week. We're going to do like 10 numbers, 1 through 10 this week, and then all the way up to the 90s, and we'll have to probably add 00 or 0 in there somewhere. So
it'll be fun when we get to some weird numbers. There'll be some great debates when we get to start. I think the low 30s.
Yes, definitely the low 30s, and but it's going to be interesting how lower numbers might be more baseball or basketball, and then the mid 30s, and then all the 60s and 70s will be all football players. But
so I was thinking to add another spin to it. Separate from who you think is the best, I also want to know who's the first that comes to your mind. Doesn't have to be the best, but who's the first that comes to your mind as well when you think of that jersey number. So let's do both. Let's do both.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's start at number 1. When I think of number 1, for some reason Ozzie Smith pops in my head. That's who popped in my head is Ozzie Smith.
That's awesome to me.
Yeah,
for me, Tracy McGrady. I just that 2001, 2002 season when between him and Kobe, that number 1.
He was on Phoenix,
Orlando.
right? Orlando. Okay, right. But did he play for Phoenix too? I don't remember.
No.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
I either him or Penny Hardaway are the number ones that I think of. They both played for Orlando, coincidentally. But now let's have that great debate of who wore it best. Who was the best player to ever wear number 1?
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's Ozzie Smith and it's Oscar Robertson. Those are my two. I mean, it's hard to pick one guy because if you're comparing sports, if a baseball player, wore it and was great, and then a basketball player wore it and was great, it's like they're each great at their own individual sport. But, who represented the number to me was Ozzy and Oscar, I think, represented the number one to me the most.
I think Oscar the Big O, in my opinion, is the greatest number one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Well, number two. I mean, two was easy for me, but I'll tell you go first with two.
I mean, I know who you're thinking. Believe it or not, you know who popped in my head first when I thought of the number two.
Mm-hmm.
If you know me very well, if you had to take a guess of who popped in my head, and I'll give you one hint of '90s basketball.
Two. Larry Johnson.
Yeah.
Wow, it took me a second on that one. Okay.
That's the first person who popped in my head when I think of the number two.
Grandmama.
I love it that you know that. Obviously, I think we're both going to say who was the best to ever wear number two.
Oh, Derek Jeter.
There you go.
Derek Jeter, hands down the best. But for me, as a hardcore Rangers fan, Brian Leach was my guy on those Stanley Cup teams.
Absolutely.
So I have a Brian Leach jersey in my closet. It's one of the few hockey jerseys I have is Brian Leach. So yeah, Brian Leach always had. It was
at some point.
What?
In the midnight when the Knicks got Larry Johnson.
He was a Knick, that type of thing. So yes, it might be a little New York bias there between us, but I don't care.
Not with Jeter.
Not with Jeter. Not with Jeter. Not
with Jeter.
Yes, and the sports writer who did not vote him in the first ballot should be banned from voting for Hall of Fame voting. But that's
oh my God,
that's a whole other story. All right, I have a couple for three. Three
was fun for me.
Yeah, well, when I think of number three, I think of Babe Ruth. I go back. I think of Babe Ruth with baseball. But in basketball, I living here, I think of D Wade, but I also think of Allen Iverson. Those are the three guys that really stick out for me at war number three for me.
So obviously, Babe Ruth is the greatest, regardless of what number he wore, unless he happened to have worn 23.
Yes.
he was going to be the greatest for any other number, with the exception of 23.
Right.
Okay, so that's an easy one. However, as a Knicks fan, the number three is John Starks. Well,
I still can't forgive 2 for 13. I'm sorry.
I understand that, but I mean, number three is John Starks. But if you ask me who first came into my mind before I even thought of Babe Ruth, I wasn't gonna go with Iverson because I mean he's not the greatest player to wear number three, but he was the first player that I thought of to wear number three.
Right,
without a doubt.
No doubt, and it's interesting because there's been some old time football players that have worn it, if you go back in football, like Daryl LaMonica, there's a name for you from the old Oakland Raiders teams of the late '60s,
right?
That type of thing. But it's usually three. You always think of Babe Ruth, and then there's other ones, but yeah, definitely.
And you know what's funny? Before we get to Forge, real quick. So about 20 minutes before the show started, I was thinking about numbers and the number threes in particular, and I was like, Iverson can't be the best number three. And then I'm like, how am I not even thinking about Babe Ruth? Conversation over.
Yeah, exactly. All right, number four is interesting. It was interesting for me. I'll let you go first on four.
I mean, the greatest hands down, Gehrig. In my, I don't think that could be debated. When I think of number four, there are two guys that pop in my head. Maybe one because I have his jersey hanging up in my closet and I can't shake it. But Nate Robinson, not that he's the greatest before, but he pops in my head first when I see the number four on a jersey.
Right.
Nate Robinson, but I cannot not talk about Brett Favre.
Yeah, and it pains me because I'm not a Brett Favre guy at all. I've never been a big Brett Favre fan at all. But yeah, I mean Favre is definitely up there. I mean Gehrig is top for four, but something that no one thinks about, and I was thinking hockey. I'm like, wait, Bobby Orr, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, wore number four.
That,
You
you
know?
know what, that's getting forgotten about because it's hockey.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but a lot of
Why
people.
that's getting forgotten about.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and to me, some hockey jerseys are some of the greatest jerseys around. You know, I mean, the old Hartford Whalers jerseys, I love those, man. Those are
Well, I'll
awesome.
tell you, I'm a skinny guy. I can't wear basketball jerseys without a t-shirt underneath. Like
Right.
I'm too skinny for that. But
Yeah.
you know, a hockey jersey is a sweater. You know,
Yeah.
with
It's
just
too hot here to
sleeves
wear a
on,
sweater.
you know, it's too hot down here. Yeah, that's true. But it's just hockey jerseys are.
Exactly, I know, especially the original ones with the fight strap on it.
Yeah, I'll never wear a baseball jersey. I can never wear the full button down. I thought that was weird. Like
Yeah.
to go out and buy a T-shirt with a full button down. Like how was I supposed to wear that? So
Yeah.
I never wore a baseball jersey in my life. Even when we go to games, I never wear a baseball jersey.
Well, you remember the ones in the 80s that didn't have the buttons or were just pullovers.
Yeah, the Astros.
The Astros had it. The Mets had it in the 80s.
Yeah.
The old St. Louis Cardinals ones. The original blue Phillies jerseys were like that. The White Sox with the socks across it in the 80s.
Yeah.
Those were all pullovers. Yeah.
And they all had the V-neck. For
Yeah.
whatever reason.
And even the old Yankees road jerseys, like the one like Bucky Dent in '78, those were pullovers
right.
too.
The great. That's right. That is right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about the buttons today. There isn't a single team.
We'll follow that under useless information we should not really know, but we know. So there we go. All right, number 5. Number 5. Well, there's a lot of number 5s, man. When I think of 5, I you know, I mean, it's all baseball players for me, and I thought of three right away. It was Joe DiMaggio, Johnny Bench, and George Brett. Those are the three for me.
Listen, Joe DiMaggio is definitely he wins this one of who's the best.
Oh yeah,
and you know the generational part is going to come out of me where you know I think of number 5, David Wright pops into my mind.
Yeah, I forgot about David Wright. Yeah,
obviously he's not even on the list of the greatest to wear number 5. You know,
if he stayed healthy, he would be because he was having a hell of a career, but those injuries just killed him.
But when I think, you know, and again, this is going to be fun for me as we do this each week because I'm going to, you know, come up with a different New York player who I just love to watch and, you know, think of that person more before I think of anyone else.
Right.
But, Joey D. This one, and David Wright's the one that pops in my mind. Old school Albert Pujols on the card.
Yeah, and it's weird seeing him wearing 55 with the Dodgers now. It really is.
Very weird. How do you like him hitting that home run?
That's crazy. Well, you know, I mean, I think it's crazy that he went to a National League team, but he basically said, "Where can I win a ring?" And he said, "The Dodgers." But I definitely think that he would, you know, definitely be a what's it called, a DH in this rule. Yeah, that's true. Wilson wore 3 in the minor leagues too before he played football. That's true.
I think Pujols said, "Where can I play and not have to move?"
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to stay in California, so he
just stay in the same house. He didn't even have to go anywhere. He didn't have to get a new apartment.
Right. He went across town. Exactly. All right. Number 6. This should be interesting. Give me your number 6. Who do you have?
Bill Russell.
See, I have Russell, but I thought of Dr. J first.
Okay. And
I thought of Dr. J first.
This is one of those fun ones because you know who else wore number 6?
LeBron wore 6 in Miami.
But he's not number 6. He's number 23, and he's not going to win. I don't care who's on the show with us that week. I don't want to hear that LeBron wins.
No, he doesn't win 23. 23 should be retired. 23 should be retired if you ask me. Exactly.
Well, the fact that the Miami Heat retired number 23 for Jordan.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not the only. There's a couple teams in the NBA that retired 23 for Jordan.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you believe Julius Erving was a better player than Bill Russell then?
No. Bill Russell was a better player, but you know, when you're saying first impression of number 6, that's what popped in my head. But then, Julius popped in my head. But then, you know, I went back and I was looking like, you know, at other things. I'm like, this is it's you know, Bill Russell, obviously. But I mean, when I think of 6, I think of Julius. You know, I automatically think it's Julius.
I see him right now coming with that steal in '83 against the Lakers coming down sideline with that dunk, or that number 6 from behind the backboard.
Yeah.
Scooping it up. Yeah,
And it's interesting to see like the old New York Nets stuff where he wore 32 when he played in the ABA before he went to the Sixers, and that's
it's weird for me, even though they're in Brooklyn now, just to even see the New York Nets. To me, there still always be the New Jersey Nets.
exactly. And when they wear those throwbacks, those blue and red throwbacks in Brooklyn, it's like what? It makes no sense,
weird.
Right.
It's weird.
And when I see those old throwback jerseys, I think of Drazen Petrovic.
I think of someone else, but you know who I think of.
Yeah, exactly. I know who it is.
In fact, we're getting to that number next.
Cool. All right.
We should have had him on for this segment. When we
yeah, that would have been. We got to get Kenny on for this for sure, no doubt. I mean 7 to me. I hear 7. It's Mickey Mantle. Automatically, Mickey Mantle.
For sure, he's the greatest to wear number 7.
Right.
I had a weird one pop into my head for number 7.
Who'd you have?
Kevin Johnson.
Ooh, wow! I never would have thought of that. Because I was thinking of like big time players. I thought of Mickey right away, and then I was like football. I'm like John Elway. Elway was a big 7. Maravich wore 7. Yeah, exactly.
For whatever reason, I'm thinking. I'm sitting down. I'm thinking like, all right, who wore number 7? Kevin Johnson was the first one to pop into my head.
Yeah. And those Suns teams were fun to watch with him and Danny Ainge and Dan Marley, man. Oh, I love watching those teams, man. Those are fun teams to watch back then. I remember that.
Listen, Big Ben, he's still active. Where's number 7?
Yeah, but I hate the Steelers, so I don't even think of Steeler number. Although we'll probably have a couple Steelers later on as we move forward with this.
This next one will be fun.
Okay. So to me, even though everyone's about Kobe right now, and Kobe, to me, Kobe is 24, but to me, Kobe's 8. Even though he changed his number, to me, Kobe's 8. I don't know why. Just because he came up when he first made won his first championships, he was 8, and he changed his number. But to me, Kobe's always going to be 8. But I put him, and you got Cal Ripken at 8, and Yogi Berra at 8. All 3 phenomenal players. Yes. I don't know how many championships Yogi has, that type of thing. Yeah, Ovechkin. Wow. Yeah, I forgot about Ovechkin wearing 8 too. Yeah, but Ovechkin's only got 1 cup, so he doesn't really rank up there with rings. Yeah, Ripken's only got 1 ring, but he's got, the Iron Man award. But between Yogi and Kobe, Kobe's got 5. I think Yogi's probably got at least 4 or 5 championships with the Yankees, so it's tight.
But you know what else is like, if you go down this list, Willie Stargell.
Yeah, Willie Stargell. Mm-hmm.
Yastrzemski.
I know, Yastrzemski.
Wore number 8. Troy Aikman wore number 8.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson wears number 8 right now.
Yeah.
But, I got to ask you this question. If Kobe's the greatest to wear number 8, is he also the greatest to wear number 24? Does it not matter what he wore other than 23? That he was going to, just like Babe Ruth is the greatest? No, doesn't matter.
Right.
What number he wore. But Kobe get 8 and 24.
I don't know, because I'm a big Ken Griffey Jr. guy. So to me, if I have Kobe at 8, I'm going to put Griffey at 24.
Okay.
I can't put him on twice. Even though Griffey never won a championship, but Griffey did everything clean as a whistle. All his numbers are clean as a whistle. So to me, I have mad respect and mad love for Ken Griffey Jr.
He's my favorite baseball player of all time. So
yeah. So
this is going to be fun each week.
No doubt.
Kobe for sure. I don't know why Latrell Sprewell popped in my head again.
Latrell Sprewell, man.
He did.
That dude was a character. Man. That dude was just crazy.
That just goes to show how homebred I am.
It's all right. What jersey are you wearing tonight? I didn't even ask. What are you wearing tonight?
I got a Ewing.
Oh, Ewing. There you go. Cool.
Got a Ewing tonight.
The greatest introduction ever at the Garden when they would introduce Patrick Ewing. It would just get higher and higher and higher, and the crowd would get louder and louder. The best.
The iconic starting lineup for the 90s Knicks.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Definitely. 100%. All right, who do you got at number 9?
The first one I thought of, and is the best in my opinion, was Ted Williams.
Yes, Ted Williams.
What
did you say, Nate? Chase Elliott? This isn't a NASCAR show. No NASCAR.
Well, now let's get technical. What number did Michael Jordan wear in the '92 Olympics?
You wore 9. You did wear 9,
You
but
did
it's
wear
it's only an Olympic jersey. To me, I mean,
Okay,
Olympic
it doesn't
the Olympic
count.
jersey numbers don't count. They don't count
Okay,
because
fair
Magic wore 15, Bird wore 7. I mean, come on,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
agree.
I think the only player that actually wore his real number was Stockton at 12.
I always thought that was weird. I had when I was 92, so I'd be 7.
Mm-hmm.
I had an Olympic Dream Team shirt, and I was so confused. I was like, "Why is Ewing wearing 6, but Stockton is still wearing 12?"
Yeah,
I didn't understand. I was too young to understand it.
he was the only. I think he was the only player on that team that actually had a number that fit there. So I think that's why he wore that or something
That's
like
funny.
that. But
Yeah,
my
that's
number 9s are Ted Williams and Gordie Howe.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean I like hockey, so I thought of hockey guys. I'm like, wait, because Ted Williams popped in my head, but then Gordie Howe. Yeah, Nate's got another one. Drew Brees is another one. I didn't even think of Drew Brees.
There's some guys who wore it throughout their career. I mean, Roger Maris is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie had worn number 9 at one
in
point.
Oakland. Yeah, that's right. He wore it in Oakland. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
People don't remember that because they remember his 44 with the
Yankees. Yeah, but he came up with Oakland and wore 9. Yeah, it's true.
Right. Joe DiMaggio had worn it at one point in his career as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's interesting.
So
that's interesting. Wow,
yeah,
that's Dwayne
Wade also wore number 9 when he was with the Cavs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't. But yeah, but you the number when you make your impression with that team, to me that's the number.
No one even remembers Dwayne Wade was a Cavs.
Right. Exactly. So there you go.
But listen, this is pretty good. I mean, Mike Modano with the Stars. You want to talk about hockey players?
Oh, I didn't think
Clark Gillies with the Islanders.
The Islanders. Wow, those '80s Islanders teams.
That number's retired
for the Islanders. All right, wait. Now, did Mike Bossy wear 24 or 22? I don't remember.
Mike Bossy.
I know Trottier wore 19.
Right, and Nystrom was 23.
So was Bossy 22 or 24? I don't remember.
22.
Oh, it's 22. All right. Okay.
22.
That would have gone into the 24 debate, but okay.
I just had a vision of the 4 jerseys that are hanging up in the Coliseum.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That is good. Yeah, Bobby Hull. That's a good one, Nate. Bobby Hull, number 9. That's a good one.
Didn't Brett wear number 9 too?
George Brett?
No, Brett Hull.
Brett Hull? I think so. Yeah, I think he wore his father's number for a while. can't remember.
Yeah,
but all right, we're running out of time, so let's move on to number 10. And it's funny, 10 has got a lot of things, but for 10, what popped in my head for number 10, and this is so weird and so off base, was Pele, the soccer player. Because I grew up, I used to love watching the New York Cosmos when I was a kid, man. I used to go to those games, and for some reason, when he played for the Cosmos, it just popped in my head. Yeah, it's came out of nowhere. And
the one that popped in my head is the one that I thought you would go with too.
Yeah, Lionel Messi. That's a good one, Nate. Yeah.
The one that popped in my head was the one that I thought you were going to go with too.
Who's that?
Which is Walt Frazier.
Yeah, when I went down when I started thinking about it, I thought about Walt, but as far as who wore it best for me is probably Fran Tarkenton.
I could be biased as a Knicks fan, and it's interesting. People would debate Chipper Jones.
Yeah, we'll see, but I hate Chipper Jones as a Met fan, so I can't put him there. That type of thing.
There's a lot of Andre Dawson wore it.
Yeah, I think Phil Rizzuto wore 10, if I'm correct.
Not sure about that.
Yeah, look that up. I think he wore number 10.
I think you might. You know what? I think you might be right.
The Money Store. Remember the Money Store?
Oh, don't even come with DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, DeAndre's done nothing. I mean, great player, but he's not even in the
Rizzuto
conversation.
did wear 10. It's
he
funny.
did wear 10, yeah.
I was watching Billy Madison today. Rizzuto?
Yeah. There was I used to work at a liquor store in Hillside, New Jersey, and he used to come in like once a week and get booze and stuff, and we used to talk baseball for a couple minutes. He was a nice it was a little guy, whatever. I actually met Yogi Berra at an event I did with my old band back in Jersey when I was like 20 or 21. He comes up, he says, "Hey, you guys are good," and walks away. That's exactly what happened.
That's awesome.
It was funny. We're like, Yogi, what's up?
Was he a guest at a wedding?
Yeah, it was a wedding, or I forgot it was a wedding. It was just, dude, this is so long ago. I mean, at least 25, 26 years ago. I mean, I think it was like I might have been dating Paula at the time when he came to this event.
Completely off base. Who's the biggest celebrity wedding guest that you've ever played in front of?
Wedding guest, probably Warren Sapp.
Okay.
Probably Warren Sapp. Biggest celebrity I've ever met is Adam Sandler.
You met the Sandman.
I met the Sandman at Cheesecake Factory. At Cheesecake Factory in Boca.
That's right. I told you we were down in Meisner the other night, and we walked by the old building, and I was like, "Did I ever tell you Yoel met at the Sandman right here?" And she was like, "What's he doing there? What was he doing down here?"
No. His parents live in Lighthouse Point, and he was just getting cheesecake. And my wife and I, it was the night 8 Crazy Nights premiered, so we were at Cheesecake Factory, and we had just seen his movie. So the waiter's like, hey guys, I know you just saw the movie, but Adam Sandler's here. I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, he's getting cheesecake. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, Paul's like, go say hi. So I went up. I'm like, hey man, what's up? He's like, hey, what's going on? So we just saw your movie. He goes, oh, did you like it? I'm like, yeah, you and Rob Smigel, you did some funny stuff. He's like, do you know Rob? I'm like, no, I don't know Rob. How the hell do I know Rob Smigel?
You probably should have said yes.
No. I said I don't know, man. He goes, but here's something that I'm going to say on the air now that it's years later. He goes, you want to hear something funny? I said, what? He goes, we were both stoned when we wrote that movie. I'm like, really, Adam? And he starts laughing. He's like, I got to go. I'm like, all right. I mean, we were just talking. Like, I didn't get an autograph or a picture. I was just sitting there talking with him for a couple minutes. It was cool.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And he was dressed like he normally is, a t-shirt, looking like a slob. It's like
most people probably he probably didn't even get bothered other than by you that night. He probably went straight in there, right back to his car.
Exactly. So all right. So next week we will have 11 through 20. We'll probably have more NBA recap playoffs. Who knows what the playoff series will be next week? Actually, it'll only be game 4, so the first round will
still be in the first round.
Still be in the first round, But anyway, yeah, man, this was awesome, man. This was really cool. This is a lot of fun. Do you have a last take you want to put in, or you think we've said everything?
Yeah, my last take is let's get Freddie on the line and tell him we need one-on-one.
Yeah,
as a new weekly show.
Yes, definitely. We definitely need a one-on-one. All right, everybody. Real Talk is next. And it's Sports Corner at 11 with Nate the Great. Thanks, Nate, for everything tonight, producing as always. And we'll see everybody next week. Peace out.